Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 80sGasm on KRMARadio.com. I'm your host, Jenn Mitchell, and tonight's show is going to be a little bit more somber than my usual format. By now, the world has learned of his shocking death, have cried and mourned in sorrow, and have shared countless stories of this avant-garde virtuoso who dared to be different. On Monday morning, January 11th, when I woke up to the news, I, like many of you, thought what I was reading in the headlines was just some twisted hoax. I was almost unable to believe my eyes, so I immediately went to his official fan page and was stunned and deeply saddened when I realized that it wasn't a hoax. And then there were tears. And now there's music and memories, two things cancer simply can't touch. So tonight, I invite you to celebrate him with me as I share stories of his life along with some of the other reactions from musicians and artists around the globe as 80sGasm honors the gift that he left to us all, starting with these two words: David Bowie.
I wanted to define the archetype Messiah rock star. That's all I wanted to do. I had to be very exaggerated in the beginning to defy people, to put me into a category so that would leave me room to work in.
The premise was men are from Mars, I'm from Bromley. I'm just a bit different from other men in that way, you know, and I just saw the world in a bit of another kind of fashion.
There's a star man waiting in the sky.
Being working class, always feel that there's never enough to leave my family. So there's a kind of a survival instinct, and everybody will be okay.
Now Ziggy play guitar.
Born as David Robert Jones on January 8, 1947 in Brixton, London, he spent his childhood in Bromley, Kent, where he learned how to play the saxophone and later went on to sing for a London blues band. In the 1960s, an effort to differentiate himself from the Monkees' Davy Jones, he adopted the name David Bowie, which paid homage to Jim Bowie, inventor of the Bowie knife. With the new moniker, Bowie set forth in 1969, where he first emerged onto the national music scene with his release of Space Oddity, whose timing coincided with the first moon landing. While his song gained him entry into the UK singles charts, most of the decade found him frustrated to make his mark in the pop rock world. Regardless, the impact that David Bowie made on the world shines as bright as his star did, and now always will. A sold-out concert on January 17th at London's Union Chapel was just one of several places he's been remembered. Event organizer Stefan Simonowitz explained his reasoning for hosting this public memorial by saying that, quote, "The world would be a very different place without David Bowie, and many people feel a distinct need to say goodbye to him," unquote. Today's show is just one of many that will echo that sentiment.
Ground control to Major Tom.
After a 3-year hiatus, Bowie re-emerged as a glam rock artist under his alter ego Ziggy Stardust upon his 1972 release, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and The Spiders from Mars. The album not only solidified his place in rock history, but also remains his best-known album to date. My song selection from this album is not only one of my personal favorites, but also inspired over 35 artists to cover it since its 1972 release, including Poison, Warrant, and Vixen, who in a loss for words simply posted this quote from Bowie on their Facebook page. The truth is, of course, that there is no journey. We are arriving and departing all at the same time. While his Ziggy persona was short-lived, he gained notoriety as the first successful American crossover artist upon the recording of several critically acclaimed albums in the 1970s. These albums included Young Americans, Low, Heroes, and Lodger, which offered up his hits Fame and Heroes. Later, he would add producer to his credits for Iggy Pop, in addition to working with Brian Eno, who was one of the principal innovators of ambient music. Upon Bowie's death, Eno told Rolling Stone magazine his passing came as a surprise, though he added that 1 week prior he had received an ominous email from him, an email which he now feels was his way of saying goodbye. "Thank you for our good times, Brian. They will never rot," he wrote in part. Iggy Pop reacted to the loss by saying, quote, "David's friendship was the light of my life. I never met such a brilliant person. He was the best there is." I think it's safe to say that he wasn't wrong. Bowie's glam anthem Rebel Rebel would go on to be covered by 30 artists including Iggy Pop, Lenny Kravitz, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and Def Leppard. 2 live tributes in wake of his passing were given by both Bruce Springsteen and Madonna, where they included this next song into their set lists. Madonna said, quote, "David Bowie changed the course of my life forever. I never felt like I fit in growing up in Michigan. He showed me that it was okay to be different, and he's the first rebel heart that I laid eyes on. Hot Tramp, I love you so." He inspired us all to go beyond the norm and reach out and dispel the void of life in 70s England with our own art forms, said Billy Idol. U2's Bono wrote, "Planet Earth is blue," and director Guillermo del Toro said, "Bowie existed so all of us misfits learned that an oddity was a precious thing. He changed the world forever." By the 1980s, Bowie had relocated to Los Angeles, California, where the beginning of the decade marked his widely received collaboration with legendary Grammy Award-winning artist Queen. Together, they created the powerhouse hit Under Pressure. The song later went on to place #1 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 80s. Queen expressed their feelings on the loss of their collaborator and friend by writing, quote, "This is our last dance," unquote. And what a dance it was. In 1983, Bowie had tapped into the commercial world upon his release of his 15th studio album, Let's Dance, which garnered several chart toppers such as Modern Love, China Girl, and the eponymous title track. He also released 2 solo albums, Tonight and Never Let Me Down. While they never reached the same level of success, Bowie simply chalked them up to experiments before moving on to his 1988 release of Tin Machine, an album which helped to rejuvenate his artistic endeavors by fusing grunge with hard and progressive rock. Although originally released in 1983 from what was Bowie's best-selling album Let's Dance, I've selected a more elegantly haunting and energy-infused version of China Girl, which was taped live for VH1's Storytellers back in 1999, followed by a song that asked us to put on our red shoes and dance the blues. While Bowie's next album from 1984, called Tonight, was critically panned following the mega success of Let's Dance, there were 2 songs that stood out for their commercial appeal and also for being solely penned by him. In fact, it was actually released as a single ahead of the album's official debut. This song would remain part of his live performances for the rest of his career. The next 2 decades from the 1990s through the 2010s kept Bowie equally busy as an actor as well as a singer-songwriter with Tin Machine. He also continued to explore and integrate new musical frontiers such as jazz, industrial, jungle, and adult contemporary into his style. Those influences bled through onto the next albums Black Tie, White Noise, Outside, Earthling, Hours, Heathen, Reality, and The Next Day. Throughout his career, Bowie was known as a master collaborator, and in the 1990s, that was no exception. Quote, "Before Johnny Cash was covering Hurt, David Bowie recognized that 9 Inch Nails was neither a novelty act nor some crap industrial band, but that Trent Reznor had real talent and vision," wrote Amanda Marcotte, feminist and political writer for Salon.com. Although the song is one of his lesser-known pairings, it definitely reinforces Marcotte's point. From his 1997 album Earthling, I present the song I'm Afraid of Americans by Mr. David Bowie featuring 9 Inch Nails. Bowie's 28th studio album Black Star would be his last, which was released on his 69th birthday, a mere 2 days prior to his passing on January 10, 2016. Although the 7-track album was written and co-produced by him and Tony Visconti during Bowie's 18-month battle with liver cancer, he viewed this final release as his parting gift to the world. It is a clear soliloquy to art imitating life with haunting lyrics echoing throughout, especially during the composition Lazarus. Visconti summed up his thoughts on Bowie by saying, quote, "He always did what he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it his way, and he wanted to do it the best way. His death was no different from his life, a work of art. He made Black Star for us his parting gift. I knew for a year this was the way it would be. I wasn't, however, prepared for it. He was an extraordinary man, full of love and life. He will always be with us. For now, it is appropriate to cry." I hesitated to play Lazarus because of that very reason. Bowie's final song not only humbles us, but haunts us. They hurt us, but in time may heal us too. Perhaps that's the greatest gift anyone can leave behind. At this time, I'd like to thank you for joining me on 80sGasm tonight for my celebration of David Bowie. I'd also like to thank my friends here at krmaradio.com for the opportunity to present this show to you. Now, on a more personal note, I'd like to thank David Bowie for everything he did, not only musically, but also for his artistry, which helped to shape generations of the past to the present and inevitably of the future as well. He carved out a space and time for those who dared to be different to have a place and a voice in this world, and that is what I will take with me on my journey. So until next time, this is Jenn Mitchell of 80sGasm saying, I hope the music keeps hitting you in all the right places. Closing out today's show is a song that I feel accurately describes the incredible love affair the world had with him for over 5 decades. Recorded live from Neil Young's annual Bridge School benefit concert back in 1996, I leave you with an acoustic version of Heroes by the one and only David Bowie, who was my hero for more than just one day. May he continue to shine in peace.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell can be heard every Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, with encores every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on krmaradio.com. 80sGasm is written, voiced, and produced by Jenn Mitchell and is sponsored by Arm the Pit and Screamer Magazine, the loudest mag on the planet. For more information on 80sGasm, please visit me online at gasmswithjen.com.
Hot tramp, I love you so.
It's back, the legendary Screamer magazine. Born on the streets of LA in 1987, Screamer brought you some of the biggest names in metal long before their rise to superstardom. Bands like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Skid Row, Warrant, LA Guns, and Faster Pussycat. Now it's back, covering a whole new generation of music. At ScreamerMagazine.com, not only can you read and hear interviews with some of today's hottest bands, you can also download copies of vintage Screamer magazines and experience the LA metal scene of the 80s up close and personal. Log on to ScreamerMagazine.com now and receive a free magazine download just for registering. ScreamerMagazine.com, still the loudest mag on the planet.
Are you tired of the music you hear on the radio? Since 2004, Arm the Pit has been promoting the bands the mainstream ignores. Visit armthepit.com today and discover your new favorite band.
Arm the Pit! Yeah! Sign up your fucking name and we'll make some noise.
80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell returns this Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central on krmaradio.com.
Oh, gnarly!
Yes, I'm back.
So I smell.
I'm not a farmer, and I don't smell, regardless of what they might say.
Fresh breath's priority in my life.
My name is Monroe. You've probably noticed that I have incredibly blue eyes.
Ass sphincter says what?
Yes, that gnarly mess is me.
Clean up on aisle 4!
He said I was professional, and I was all, are you sure you have the right Jenn Mitchell?
Geek, can I be honest with you? Not if you're gonna insult me.
Buying your cheesy lines, I am not. Scared, nauseous, and serious about slapping you in the face with a frozen flounder, I am. Was that declarative enough? Now, where did I put my extra Petri dishes?
Oh, I've been waiting all day for this.
Stay naked, everyone. More 80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell on krmaradio.com is on its way.